So the next thing your book talks about in this chapter is government insurance programs. And they start out by saying that private insurance is based on actuarial equity. Okay, pricing reflects the risk. So if you're a seasoned driver and you're 45 years old, right, and you've never had an accident, you're probably going to pay low insurance premiums, right, because of everything I just said. If you're a new driver and you're young and you're driving a souped-up car, the insurance companies will probably charge you a high rate because their data show that young people who are inexperienced driver and drive souped up car like a Dodge Charger or a muscle car, they get in a lot of accidents. So they will pay more. They will pay more, okay? That's called actuarial equity, that who has the losses, that demographic, they usually pay more money, okay? But government, or what we call social insurance, is not based on actuarial equity. It's more based on the government's objectives for social equity. That is, they want to make sure that everybody has some coverage. And they're more concerned with that. You know, they're more concerned with, well, we're less concerned with the numbers. We want to make sure everybody gets the coverage, okay? So in general, when you look at things like Social Security and unemployment insurance, they're not really being, they're not really being calculated this way. You know, they're not saying, well, young people are unemployed more, we're going to charge them more. They don't do that. Unemployment insurance is a social insurance, and it's based on what they're trying to do is, if you're out of work, you get some of your pay, okay? It's not really based on your demographic group as to whether this is the fourth time you've been unemployed, we're giving you $1. They don't do that. It's more a basic difference between the two groups, okay? So now what we want to talk about is, what are the reasons for government involvement in insurance at all? Why do they get involved? Okay, so let's talk about government involvement in insurance. To fill insurance needs unmet by the private sector. Okay? So what we're talking about is, here, we're talking about the reasons for government involvement in insurance. First, the big one is to fill insurance needs unmet by the private insurance sector, okay? An example of this is flood, right? Just like we discussed before, right? The insurance companies started pulling back saying, we're not going to provide that flood insurance anymore, and the government had to step in and say, continue to sell the policies, send us the premium, and we'll pay the claims. By the way, most years, 9 out of every 10 years, flood insurance is a profitable line for the federal government. They actually make money on it. So, I don't know. There's a question as to whether it's really uninsurable. But the reality is, they're in that business, okay? Another example for that is what's called TRIA. terrorism risk insurance, something or other. After 9/11, all the insurance companies took a great big step back and said, from now on, we're not covering losses due to terrorism. So the federal government had to step in there and say, we'll cover losses due to terrorism. So that's called TRIA. So see, that's another example of a need unmet by the private sector. Okay?
Who decides if it's terrorism? Is the company, the insurance company decides it?
No, you know what? It's an interesting question. Russ is asking who decides if it's terrorist. The State Department, the federal government has a department called the State Department. They decide if something was a terrorist act.
Excuse me.
Yes.
In the homework, they're saying something about political risk insurance. Who should have the private sector?
I didn't quite hear you.
Political insurance.
Political risk insurance.
Say it again.
Political insurance.
It says who insures the political risk insurance?
The insurance companies do it. Yeah, they can do it. Yeah, the private sector. Yeah.
But then there's insure against terrorism too.
That's when they want to do it, right? That's when they say we will insure political risk insurance, which is the currency, you know, the government, some foreign government taking over your plant, you know, confiscating your assets, or
Contract.
yeah, taking over your nullifying your contract, saying we now own this, and it can include terrorism. But that's when they say they want to do it. What I'm talking about with TRIA is where they took all their auto policies, workers' comp policies, property policies, and said we won't cover a loss from TRIA. Right? Because I just found it like ridiculous. Like, how's an auto accident a terrorist act? It's ridiculous stuff. I found it silly. All right. Our second reason for government involvement in insurance is to compel insurance purchase. Okay? Now you remember what we said before, all businesses have to have workers' comp. Well, how about this? Suppose your company is a construction company that builds these big high-rises where the guys, and I guess ladies, go up on the girders, right? 50 stories above the ground. Did you ever see the pictures from the guys building the Empire State Building? I hate to look at those pictures. They make me dizzy. You know? They're way up there, okay? There's no partial claims if you fall from 100 stories, right? So, so they have trouble getting workers' comp insurance. Everybody says, no thanks, right? Nobody wants to insure them. So what do? They need to go to the state fund. See? If the government is going to compel you and say you have to have workers' comp insurance, they have to provide a way for you to get it. So what they will do is they will have a state fund. That's what Pennsylvania has to provide workers' comp. So you go to the private sector. If you get turned down, you go to the state fund. Okay, it's called SWIFT, State Workers Insurance Fund. How about assigned risk for auto? You know, somebody's had 5 accidents, 2 DWIs, nobody wants to insure them. Okay? So what do? They have to go to the assigned risk plan. Assigned risk plan is where the state says, okay, Allstate, you take this one, State Farm, you take that one. They assign the risks out based on how much premium to carry over. So that's another reason for government involvement in insurance. Third is to obtain efficiency and provide convenience. I think this is a little bit of a reach, but the theory is efficiency because nobody has to advertise flood insurance, for example. Nobody has to advertise they sell flood insurance because the government's insuring all of it. So there's no
Yeah,
real
that's
competition
flood
going
insurance.
on. See what I mean?
I see flood insurance commercials all the time.
You do.
Yeah. There's the one about, it's literally, it's a family sitting there, and you just see water rushing in, and they're completely oblivious to it. There's other ones where you see, almost like an EKG running along a wall, and you see, and it's people, you see like the water damage against the wall, and people
Really?
are just like, it's commercials for flood insurance. It's
Okay.
greenhouses, waves on, that's the logo, that is.
And what's the carrier? Do you remember?
I have no clue.
All right.
I just know it's flood insurance.
Is it like from natural disaster insurance?
No, that's
No,
not
it's
insurance
just-
like if a
Yeah,
pipe
that's
bursts.
what I'm
We're
thinking.
talking about natural disasters.
Oh, if a pipe burst, that can be
Yeah.
covered by your homeowners.
That's your homeowner.
That
I'm
can
not
be-
talking homeowners, I'm talking
I know
like
the commercials
just
are-
flood insurance.
You think it's just a flood insurance policy?
In the same commercial, it's homeowners insurance.
Well, the
Could be
distinction is
primary,
this,
like I
if it's a
know.
pipe that breaks, like a pipe that breaks in this building, that would be covered by the property policy. But if it's a river overflowing its banks and rushing into the learning center, that's flood insurance. But Dan could be right, there could be commercials like that. I mean, maybe the government would have a reason to run ads like that, you know, just to let you know that they're there, or a private carrier.
It is national. There's another one, that's an animated one, where like the house, that is National Flood Insurance, PSA.
Okay.
So they are national based for flood insurance, but it's not a specific company. that's doing
Okay.
it.
The companies are allowed to do flood insurance